The Lancia Stratos, 70s rally legend and iconic supercar. Most people would say that it couldn't be improved upon. But what if you were different, dear viewer? What if you wanted your Stratos to look like an MPV? What if you wanted it to be made of chocolate and have windows you couldn't see out of and have a shirt button for a steering wheel? Oh, portholes. What if it had portholes? Well, fortunately, do I have the car for you. It's called the Lancia Cibolo and it's a rather radical take on the whole wedge design, to put it mildly. The car was the brainchild of Marcello Gandini, who designed such things as the Alfa Romeo Carabo and the Lamborghini Bravo. Thus, the Cibolo could be seen as a wilder evolution of the wedge era of car design. It could also perhaps be what resulted from Gandini experimenting on what a car would look like if it was designed by someone on copious amounts of psychedelic mushrooms. As I alluded to earlier, the car was based on the ever so wonderful Lancia Stratos, with most of the internals remaining unchanged and the chassis only being lengthened by 10 centimeters, which, considering the Stratos is a fairly short car, leads me to question how it manages to look much larger, but that could always be a side effect of the absurd styling. On that note, it's probably time that I properly tackle the wedge-shaped elephant in the room, that styling. It was deliberately designed to be futuristic and outlandish, which is probably why they pulled absolutely no punches when designing it and ended up looking like it did. To start with, it's styled to look like one single solid object rather than multiple different components put together, which extends to the bizarre painted over windows. The windows themselves have many strange quirks to them, like those weird portholes, a side effect of them not being able to open properly. They're also made of polycarbonate, very unusual for the time. This was due to the glass supplier Bertone were using not being able to deliver the windows in time for the car's 1978 debut. Moving on to the wheels, they're not the usual excellent ones you find on the Stratos, and even though the colour matches, they're more like solid lumps of metal wrapped in tyre. And then, when you think it can't get any weirder, you get to the rear of the car and are greeted with what may very well be the strangest rear light configuration you've ever seen, with the central light that is also the only place on the exterior that tells you what the car is, flanked by what looks like two glued on bricks for brake lights. For a final bit of eccentricity, the rear window is the only one on the Cibolo not to be painted over. Moving into the interior, the first thing you'll notice is that it's just as brown as the outside of the car. But because this is still the Lancia Cibolo, this could be the most normal thing about it. With the seats, you're practically sitting on the floor, and in between them is a gear lever with an orange stripe down the middle. The same stripe that you've probably noticed on the outside, which is the only point where you can see the gap between bumper and body. There's the usual futuristic late 70s and 80s digital dashboard surrounded by acres of walnut veneer. Then you have the orange buttons on the doors that I can only imagine are what you use to open them. But I do believe that's everything. Oh, yes, that steering wheel. Now, I said before that it looks like a shirt button, and it's also covered in those large, weird buttons once more. But then you have the steering column that it's attached to, which is more like a steering pedestal for the wheel to sit on. Surprisingly, the car is fully drivable apart from that whole no visibility thing. When it was sold at auction in 2011, however, it actually fetched far less money than the Stratos usually does, around €100,000. Now, this is again no doubt due to the Cibolo's inspired design, but still surprising considering it's a working one-off concept. As for what I think of it, well, from my descriptions of it, you probably already have some idea. As much as I admire it for being completely different from anything else before or since, the Cibolo is just so ugly that I can't bring myself to like it, although I still hold it in higher regard than something like a Pontiac Aztek, for example, which is dreadful in every way. However, if you've enjoyed this video and would like to see more absurd concept cars that probably look a little bit better than this one, consider leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one.